Away we go.
Yes,
Monday Funday.
Yeah, we're going to do a Monday podcast. Normally we do this on Thursday, but we had the brainstorm of let's try a Monday while it's all fresh in our heads. So we're going to this is going to be a new experience for all of us and should be pretty exciting. So actually, I don't expect it to be any worse than any of the rest of the train wrecks that we have.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, we'll just throw another log on the fire.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, but it's I don't know. It was a pretty good weekend. I mean, I like doing it this way, I think, because
it's fresh. We feel fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh like Irish soap fresh.
Yeah.
But
we almost didn't make it today, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it.
Trains, planes, and automobiles, mainly the trains part of that.
Right.
So I go to show up for lunch. We're going to do our daily or our weekly lunch for Monday. And, dude, this train, it has got to be the longest freaking train in history. And it's on the slow, you know, where you can see it slowing down. It's one of those trains that is long enough, and it's like, I know it's stopping. I can feel it stopping. It's got to be physically going slower. But it finally made it through the intersection. I was able to get to lunch on time. So I felt pretty good about myself after that.
And the bad thing about that train where you're at is it spurs into Old Town Spring.
Yes.
So if there's any sidetrack, because that whole Burlington Northern yard is there.
Yeah.
And so they have to back that thing in, pull it out, back it in. That's the bad thing about your crossing. The crossing over here by my house, it's a thoroughfare. So it's 45 miles an hour they're moving.
Yeah,
so,
they're cooking pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, you can handle it when it's that. You don't start to lose your mind.
Well, I would have been more impressed if it had ended up in the bayou like the trash truck.
That was pretty cool. We're on to the automobiles part of this. So Graham comes wheeling up, and he's got a good trash truck story.
Yeah, so I'm leaving to head to lunch, and I look down the bayou that's like right next to my neighborhood. And I pass by real quickly, and it's just like a very quick glance. And I'm like, man, was that what I thought it was? And so there's this huge freaking, one of these industrial, on steroid.
The 18-wheeler wrecker things?
Yes. Yeah, big fucking wrecker's there. And I was like, fuck, yeah, you're going to need that.
You're going to need two of those to drag that thing out of there.
By the time I got back to the house to pick up the computer so I could go do this recording, they had already had it yanked out, and it was ready to go.
Impressive.
But I was like, man, what the fuck was going on?
It's kind of like a Sanford and Son. You wonder if it was Sanford and Son going on, the Red Fox. Lamont, where you going, Lamont?
Where you, big dummy?
You big dummy, you run the truck off in the ditch.
God, that was a great show.
That really was.
Red Fox, another comedian that was just, talking about vulgarity, that guy was funny.
Yeah, he was. He was quite the entertainer. But my stories from the weekend, I had a pretty good story for this weekend. We went down to South Texas. So Michelle, my wife, has got this new gig where she's the comptroller of this ranch.
Mule?
Yeah, that's it.
She's a mule?
Exactly. No, she's not a mule. No, she's got this new gig where she's the comptroller of this ranch, so they wanted us to go down and meet everybody. Right. So we head for South Texas. We get there. It's an amazing ranch. We had a great time. They put us in a house that's bigger than our normal house. This thing's 20,000 acres. It's freaking huge.
Right.
So we had a good time. We're staying on the ranch, and we go out and...
Is it a cattle ranch or just a game ranch?
It's a game ranch. It's
no cattle at all?
There is some cattle on it, but it's not the primary purpose for it.
Gotcha. Okay.
The cattle are there for probably ag exempt and other reasons why they have them. They have longhorns. They were like, we just have the longhorns to look at.
Dude, longhorns are cool as hell.
That was cool. Yeah. And they were showing us all the pens that they had gone in and built for the longhorns. Oh, yeah. Special pens because they've obviously the longhorns on them. But... So anyway, we get down there and we decided to have authentic Mexican food. We're 30 miles from the border, and they suggested this place for authentic Mexican food. So we go in, and I'm sitting there, and I've got a gun manufacturer's hat on, and in walks this Border Patrol agent. And he sits down at the table across from us, and super nice guy. Most of those guys they're pretty personal.
They are, yeah.
And you could tell he'd been doing it a while. He was an older guy. And so we start talking guns. It's a hobby of mine, and so we start going back and forth about this firearm manufacturer that I have on this hat, and it turns to his job. And so he starts telling us stories about his job, and I'm egging this on and stuff, and asking him questions and trying to get him to tell me more about it. Well, one of the common themes that he seemed to have, and this is a new kind of a new occurrence that's been happening down there is these kids that they're bringing in over the border with them, they found a new use for them as opposed to just bludgeoning people socially over
drugs,
social justice.
And sex. Now they got another use for them?
They do. They've come up with another use for them where they pick one of these homes that's located out. It's kind of a desolate area. There's not a lot of big population centers.
Well, it's a rural ranch area. It's all rural.
And it is. There's a whole lot of West Texas and South Texas is like that. There's not a whole lot of huge towns down there. Mm-hmm. It's mainly small town America that's out in West Texas until you get to like San Antonio and places like that. Victoria is kind of big, but that's way east of where we are.
More urban. Yeah.
Right. So he's telling us this story where they'll go in and they pick they pick a ranch house that's kind of secluded, and what they'll do is they'll send these kids to the door, and they'll have the kid feign the effect of being lost or being in distress, some sort of problem. They're there with an issue, and what they end up doing is the kid lures the resident out of their home. And once they get them out of the home, they're set upon by a superior number of illegal aliens in the group. And what they do, basically what he concluded was, you got off easy if you just take a beating and they steal everything you own. He's like, we've seen cases where it's gone way, way worse than this. Mm-hmm. He's like, we've had instances of rape, instances of people almost dying from these beatings that they're taking. And when they break in, they're taking money, jewelry, the vehicles, the firearms, all that stuff.
Valuables.
Yeah, basically. They have run of the place because nobody's there to stop it. So it's just one more instance of all this social justice worrying that we're seeing out there.
Yeah, you get, in those rural areas, you have county sheriffs, and they're spread pretty thin. I mean, they cover big areas. So down there, you have Border Patrol.
Yep.
You probably have DHS people rolling around.
Lots of DHS people.
Yeah, you have Highway Patrol. They have a constable's department down there as well. I had a friend that I used to ride with them in that area. Yeah. And they cover a lot of ground in a day. They really do. And then you have Texas Rangers too. Now, the Rangers actually spend a lot of time down that area too.
I had that friend that lived across the street from me in my old house. He was down there. Yeah. He had to go spend I think it was once a month or once every other month for a week. He had to go down there and spend it. Sure. It was interesting when we got. The place that we were staying was 35 miles from the border. Mm. When we hit probably 50 miles from the border, the amount of law enforcement that we saw on the side of the road was just staggering. It's anywhere else I've seen that it's like that. There was one point where every mile marker we hit, there was LEO, whether it was Border Patrol, DPS, Texas DPS, or
somebody who
constable. It was interesting to see all that, and they were steadily watching cars. I mean, they obviously had a plan and knew what they were looking for.
Since this last election, they have had tons of arrests of drugs coming across. And what's funny is they're not always big hauls. They might be 100,000 or less. Yeah, but they're posting. I follow a social media group that is of active Leos that post all the stuff they get down there, and it's every day. It's multiple times during the day. A lot of it's drugs, a lot of it's money.
I was going to say they're looking for the money going back the other way. That was one of the things this guy brought up. They're looking for money going the other way.
Yeah, so there was a stat that came out the other day that said $56 billion comes from the U.S. into Mexico from illegal aliens, migrant workers, and families sending money home. Right. And a lot of those people are on basically subsidized, they have some kind of assistance from the U.S. government, and so they're tracking all this money. But now the latest thing has been these counterfeit $10 bills. Yeah, there is a shitload of $10 bills coming across, and they're actually distributed in our area and all through the South Texas and all the way up through the state.
It's a common denomination.
It is. And it's heavily saturated in our area. It used to be the $100 bill, the super bill. Yeah. Then it was the 20s. And now
that's why they've moved to the 10s, because everybody checks the 20s now. They'll run the little pen across it and all that stuff. Nobody checks a 10,
Right. So and so you see a lot of that, and then they've also, they're putting a lot of stop to the sex trade too. They have. Geez, Houston seems like every time they swing through, they get 300 at a time.
Yeah, well, we just had that big one where they busted doctors and nurses, and it was a whole slew of professionals that were involved in a sex ring traffic deal, and it was like, man, just it hits all levels. You know, you think it's you picture the seedy narco type in your head that you think it is, but it's really professionals and people like that are just as involved and have just as much.
It's all about the money.
It is.
It's about money and it's about decadence. I mean, when you have drugs and all this other stuff involved, people, the vices, all the vices that we fall to, creates these problems, and they're filling a need for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things where, you know, you go down there, because I've spent some time over the years down there, and I know that border crossings have changed radically since I remember we used to walk across.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't do that anymore.
No.
It doesn't happen. And
that was one of the things that he brought up. He's like, I've been doing this about 20 years. So this guy's probably pushing retirement age, right, for Border Patrol. He basically said it's changed so dramatically in the last 20 years that I've been doing this, just from what I've seen to where we are. It's huge. It's a huge difference. So it's frustrating when you sit back and you see these people, you know, put ICE officers on blast, put the Border Patrol on blast, and talk about what, you know, just what kind of terrible people they are. It's just not the case. So,
yeah, it's that should be against the law, actually, because that's definitely endangering their lives.
Yeah,
and it's, you know, and they follow these politicians, dude. These politicians seem to they first of all, they don't have a clue what it takes to save a country.
Right.
I just had Joe Pesci pop him in. They fuck you. They fuck you. They fuck you.
They do. Exactly. Yeah, and that's the truth, because, you know, so we're famous for one down here right now. I don't know if I even call it famous. I think we're the laughing stock because of this buffoon.
Yeah.
You know, Francis O'Rourke, that
Francis.
guy. Yeah.
Lighten up, Francis.
Yeah. You know, so he's all about the open border. He claims to be a man of those people.
Yeah.
And I don't say that with disrespect, because I would think that when you say those people,
yeah, dude, well, you just subcategorized
them
right
you know,
there.
And it's like, look, man, he has this. He claimed, I guess El Paso is his.
Yeah, his dad. So his dad had a big, huge. His dad had a bunch of land down there, and if you really go talk to the people, and we've talked about this before, but if you talk to the people of El Paso and that area, they hate those guys. They hate the O'Rourke's of El Paso, because he screwed them. I mean, if you there's a ton of videos out there, you can go look it up. They basically, he railroaded a bunch of people. So O'Rourke is a 4-letter word down there.
And he's a typical son of a politician or a landowner. I mean, where he breaks all the laws and does all the things. But what I think is funny is how he stands up there. We've just heard about how people get attacked, robbed, raped, and otherwise victimized by people who don't belong here. So we are sitting there, we're putting up a wall, we're doing all the things we're supposed to do. The last line of defense is self-defense. Yeah. Right?
You would think.
And you know, whatever side of this debate, and please jump in, because whatever side of this debate you fall on, there's nothing worse than a privileged son from that area that claims to be a politician on behalf of the people, ignores all the stuff that goes on down there, and then tells you that when I get in there, I'm going to take away your means of self-defense.
Right.
I don't get that.
It's an amazing. So you've got basically this meme's been running around, and I love it because it makes perfect sense. It's like you've got a criminal telling you he's going to take your guns away,
right?
You know, and it's like once you noodle that out, it's like, yeah, I can I can see how we got a problem here.
From his, you know, from how he sounds on TV and the kind of the cause that he's railing for, is he would really become the president of a people that's not even of this, that's not even of the United States.
Sure, and I mean, we've talked about that. That's what they're gunning for. I mean, we all know that. So
yeah, it's funny how I'm going to basically circumvent the law of the land.
Yeah.
To enforce my version of how the land should be.
Right.
Which should tell you real quick, there's something wrong with this picture. I mean, you know, you sit there. I mean, we have these people all over the place. I know we're going to talk about woeisms here in a little bit. But, but you have a lot of this where these activists, and he's an activist. He's not what I can't stand about the political cycle anymore is that you have populists showing up
Yes.
Not people with legitimate business backgrounds or anything to offer the country other than an opinion and division.
Right.
You know?
Basically, every politician nowadays that shows up on any kind of media is, to some degree, some sort of a social justice.
Yes, exactly.
They're not
true.
anybody who's fighting for, like, what I would consider U.S. ideals, you know, or whatever the population is wanting to, you know, rise the community up to. Is you've got, now I'm going to take on the cause of people who aren't even of this country, and poor them that they have to jump our fences to come here.
Well, not only
yada yada yada.
Yeah, but not only that, the most interesting part of it is they never offer solutions. All they ever really do is scream about a problem, whether it's a manufactured problem.
Point fingers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here to solve a problem, and then when you try to pin them down for answers, you don't get a clear one. The only one that they can have a clear answer on is the latest one that he went off on about in the debate, which was he wants to ban assault rifles. So, like you were saying, Ken, whatever side of the debate you fall on this, fine. But here's the thing about that. You're not going to solve it. We've run this game before. We've had a 10-year ban on assault rifles before. From 94 to 2004, there was a ban in place. FBI statistics come out and they specifically show that there was no improvement through mass shootings or any gun crime whatsoever. It was unaffected. So you've got a guy that's basically taken a plan that's been run before that's a shown failure, and really the only reason he runs it is to get votes. Basically, he's doing that to
Do you
say,
think it's even to get votes, or do you think it's just to be in the news? Because he has. So when you have nothing else to offer, when you have no solutions and no new ideas,
right?
What you do is you scream the loudest on a bad idea.
Right.
Okay? And the only thing he's offered are two things. Take away assault rifles and take down the wall.
Right.
He hasn't offered any reform. He hasn't offered any talking points other than high touch, highly superficial and emotional issues.
Right.
Because a politician should understand that the Constitution has amendments and rules. And those are there to govern the people and to tell the government how they're supposed to serve the people, not the other way around. So you get a lot of these people come in there and they tell you how you're going to serve them. And that's how this guy is. Right. You know?
Well, that seems to be a running theme. They're all trying to get to a point to where they have what I like to refer to as wokeisms.
Yes.
You know, it's like how woke can I be today? And it's translating into the people.
Well, like the wokeisms that you're talking about, I would consider would be the gun control. Anything that is, I'm going to employ gun control because I think that's what will fix the problem.
Right.
When it's so you're going to point to an inanimate object that can't really defend itself.
Yeah.
Because you can't say that humans have digressed morally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that would hurt fucking feelings. But you can say that this gun, this tool,
right,
no different than a hammer. It just does a little, you know, when used properly, it does a different kind of damage than a hammer.
Right.
Well, but you can't say that a fucking idiot picked up
because then you have a demographic that you have to point
by
to.
their own words, they're calling it gun prohibition.
Right.
Okay. So go back to Prohibition, the Volstead Act.
How well did that work?
What did that shit do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You basically created a black market and more violence.
Well, you created a mafia.
You did. That's my point.
The mafia was created through that whole Prohibition thing. Then you had illegal activities coming through Canada and Mexico.
Right.
But here's the funny thing. Hard drugs are against the law.
Right.
They're illegal.
How well has that program worked for you?
They haven't been able to stop any of that because they're seizing. We were just talking just a minute ago on how much they were seizing coming across the border in creative ways.
Well, like,
you know?
Okay, so that touches on the opioid crisis.
Yes.
And I've been watching this whole court case going on with I think it's the Spencer family that owns.
Isn't it Bear? Don't they own Bear or something like that? I can't remember who it was.
I remember
the
specific name that popped up is that. So the issue right now, the sticking point right now is the settlement agreement.
Right.
Is this phrase that keeps getting thrown out as this mutually beneficial for both the defendant and the prosecuting, you know, the people who were offended.
Okay.
So, and I'm like, okay, mutually beneficial, that you're trying to make sure that the have-nots get a little bit of the haves,
right,
and the haves don't have as much of their their wealth taken away.
Right.
Which I think is like
it's one big sweep under the rug.
Wrong is wrong. We're coming up with, okay, they're not worthy of a certain level of punishment because maybe somebody has slid some money under the table that says, okay, meter your justice system.
Well, it gets to the point of, well, some handouts were made and some political backs were scratched.
I will add some money to your campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was contained. It's contained. It's kind of a containment thing if you really think about it.
Perfect way to say it.
Well, dude, if you looked at the reach of Bayer, it's the UK.
Yep.
It's the AU. It's Canada or North America and the United States. It is so fucking globally big,
right?
That each investment group they fall under the rules of the investment laws of each country, right?
Right.
And then you've got the entire. I mean, you're looking at the ability to change law, the ability to affect a market, and the ability to manage and control governments.
Right.
Through these corporations, and so you look at people that pander to that. Politician, it draws them like moth to a light.
No, it does.
You know, so literally when these guys sit in rooms and have discussions about who's going to. I mean, there was a great movie with Eddie Murphy. It was called he's a politician. It was called the Distinguished Gentleman or something like that.
Yes,
I remember the movie.
Where he was offering a guy money as lobbyist. He goes, well, I'm not for that cause. He goes, wait a minute. He turns around, comes through the door again, and says, okay, I got this money for this group.
Right.
You know, that's how this thing works.
It's how it all works.
So, you know, it's funny because, you know, going back, I mean, this isn't going to be a lesson in the Constitution.
Why don't they remake that fucking movie?
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they won't now.
No. And that's a shame, too, because it does speak volumes of truth. But, you know, and like I said, it's not a lesson in the Constitution or history or anything like that. But at the end of the day, the laws that are in the book are very adequate. Okay, we have a thing here in Houston where we have a guy that was involved in the shooting of a police officer.
Yep.
And I believe this is the same case to where what they did is they jailed him for littering because he threw the gun he used out the window.
That's right.
Yeah, but they didn't charge him for capital murder. Is that the case?
That's another case, but this guy, everybody's up in it's the same.
He's out again. He's out on bond.
He is. They let him out on bond. So you have a guy that actually tried to murder somebody, and you cut him loose on bond. That's the big stink.
So this is two of them now that they've done this.
That's two of them, exactly.
This guy robbed a jewelry store. That's right.
That's the one.
The other guy robbed a jewelry store, shot in the jewelry store, was evading police, threw the gun out the window.
Yeah. When
they pulled him over, then they arrested him, took him to court. The DA, which I'm not going to name this person's name, basically they fined him for littering, but let him go on the other charges: evading police and robbery. Yeah.
Right.
So this is what you're dealing with in these popularity contests. I mean, people that are in these jobs, even our judge, the person that won the job as a judge, it's like, dude,
yeah, how'd you get there?
How'd you get there? It's not a popularity vote, and what they've turned it into, social media really has rolled this up.
Yeah, they have.
You know, so social media has taken and changed the name of the game on how, and to the point where we were talking about Google a few weeks ago,
right? Where
their statements were, we're not going to let what happened in 2016. Is it 2016?
Yeah, the 2016 election
ever happen again?
Right.
You know, so you can kind of see what's going on here. So what you've got is you got people stuck in the crosshairs, literally. You have landowners that have property all along the border parts of this country that are victimized, murdered, killed, whatever it is they're being done. There's a lot of illegal activity coming across their property, literally. And then what happens? They bring all this stuff into the bigger cities. Now they're bringing money back, and they're bringing stuff back to the other side of the border. And then you've got politicians that stand in the way of a president who's clearly knows what he's doing in this area, and he's defending the people and the Constitution. The other guys are saying, no, he's not.
They fight him the whole way.
Now, to back up to the Google comment is, are we saying that people can't have an opinion about something? No,
they are.
But what I'm trying to say is that am I going to motherfuck Google because they made a comment like we need to prevent the election outcome that we had in 2016? We're going to try to prevent that in 2020. Should I motherfuck them because they said that? No. What I'm going to motherfuck them on is the fact that they imply that they have the power to do so.
And they do.
That, to me, should alarm everybody.
Sure.
I don't care that this is your opinion.
The fact that you're trying to enforce your opinion on me, though.
Exactly. Is the fact that if the masses want somebody in office, but you're going to turn some knobs and switches that will suddenly...
To try to alleviate that.
To wipe away what the people want.
Right.
That's a huge fucking problem.
So here's some of the failures I'm seeing. So a lot of these politicians put on these impressive social media campaigns.
Well, yeah, until that's the game.
But until they stand on the stage and start talking, they sound like a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally cannot stand on a stage. If you look at the last few Democratic debates that they've had, that is the biggest shit show you've ever seen in your life. I mean, literally, they put on a media presence because there's PR firms doing this work for them.
Yeah.
You can't tell me Joe Biden's sitting there. I don't even think the only thing Joe Biden used social media for is, well, you know what Joe Biden uses social media for.
Head and Shoulders shampoo.
Yeah, so you've got these professional handlers. So you're really not even seeing their presence on the social media platform.
Who is this Uncle Joe that's in this kids group?
Exactly.
Right.
Why is he here?
Well, there was an episode where Hank Moody woke up in his neighbor's son's bedroom. Remember that? He came home and he thought it was his apartment, and he ended up he was laying in bed, and there's a kid in the bed. That's a perfect. That's a Joe Biden.
That's a Joe Biden gaffe.
Joe Biden gaffe right there.
I'm actually kind of glad that I don't remember that episode.
Yeah,
that's pretty creepy.
That you're soiling my Hank Moody.
Yeah, no, he came home drunk, and it's the next door neighbor, and he ended up in the kid's bed. And he offered him, like, I think he pulled out some money not to scream.
Oh yeah,
that was hilarious.
Something about
so
that.
So what we're seeing is, it's like, look, we're seeing a massaging of the information clearly, right? I clearly understand what you said about motherfucking Google on certain aspects. See, to me, I motherfuck them because I don't like anybody that's going to, on the surface, act one way and then go down deep dive and undo everything that I'm
because
wanting.
this comment was not meant to be heard in the public,
right?
So I mean, they just got caught.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the part that gets me is that
I can't trust you at all. That's what it comes down to. Is I never can trust you again.
At the end of the day,
burn it down.
Everything I have to look at everything you do, because even your search criteria is all
it's all suspect at this point.
Suspect.
It's all got taint to it.
So with this with these red flag laws, I could actually say, okay, can you take that red flag law and repurpose it for
hell yeah, you can.
Well, no, yeah. I know I can, but what I'm saying is, am I going to say something that somebody will misconstrue and say, hey, because he said that, he's become a danger?
You and I get cross all the time when I say something you don't understand what I'm saying. Yeah. You don't understand it, so it goes that way.
But by making a statement that somebody doesn't agree with,
right
now we've come up with this red flag law that says
that's already been brought up. It's interesting that you say that, since this has all come about.
And then taking that red flag law and then suddenly say, now I won't give you an IP address, or you can't get on the internet,
right? Sure,
because you've said this.
Sure, but it's interesting that you mentioned that, because this has already been brought up that way with going back to Beto and his whole ideas behind. Well, and even Republican politicians now we have the.
I saw the Twitter that tweet that came out where somebody put something towards him and he interpreted it as, hey, you fucking threatened me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the politician said something about, here's my AR-15, come and get it, Beto.
He said, come and take it.
It's ready for you, or something.
Yeah,
like
that. He implied come and take it. I saw an interview with that guy. So he basically said, look, this is a saying that we have in Texas.
Anybody who's from Texas would know this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there you go. That's exactly right.
The guy actually had a good interview. I'd encourage you to go look at it and watch the guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was real calm in the interview. He's like, hey, that's basically what we say down here. When you want it, come and take it. And he was very calm in the interview. He's like, I'm not threatening anybody. This is a joke.
So when Beto ran against Cruz for the state senator, for all that stuff that went on in that last election, almost 2/3 of his money is from out of state.
Yeah.
That's the part I don't understand, is how do you run in a state election and you get to take money from donors from out of state? How does that shit work? Well, when your own people won't even financially support you?
Exactly.
I mean, this is no endorsement for that, but when somebody financially benefits or business wise or whatever.
Yeah.
And contributes. I understand why they're doing it, but it looks.
Well, explain to me because I don't understand it.
Well, if I do business with Louisiana, let's say I'm in Texas and I do business with Louisiana, I have financial interest in Louisiana at that point. So now, yeah, I mean,
so when I put a license plate on my car,
yeah,
and I happen to drive through Louisiana, does that mean that Texas should pay Louisiana some of the money for my license plates?
Well, you generally do because the cops are looking for you when you come down that way,
and vice versa. See, this is where I disagree.
I get what you're saying.
Because if you have to register in a county or a precinct,
right,
and then you have to have a voter's registration card to go vote, there should be no other influence other than my will or the will of the people in this area. I don't agree with that.
Honestly, I'm in the middle on that. I really am because I can see both sides of it.
Yeah, I can see both sides.
But I agree. I get what you're saying.
See,
Ken.
this is where to
keep it clean. I agree. You have to do it the way you're saying.
This is where it goes sideways.
The problem I have is how these businesses use their influence.
Well, exactly.
And I'm like, your business in Texas is just that. But you do not get to influence
that's my point.
And then goes back to wokeisms. Now you've got companies like Walmart that are woke about whatever the situation has to be.
Is it wokeism or because to me it's almost like blurring the fucking lines?
Well, it is, but I mean it's wokeism is going to come across as virtue signaling. I mean, it's basically a list of wokeisms are basically a list of virtue signals. You know, I check these boxes. Therefore, I have wokeism. So that's kind of how I define my wokeism statement.
Right.
But getting back to it, I was going to say, you got companies like Walmart that have this woke mentality now, and now they're donating to this guy who is influencing. It's basically influencing the election that he's running for,
and that's my point.
Not right, and I get that.
Yeah.
So if you could somehow alleviate that to where you just can't, you can't untie that knot once it's tied.
Doesn't that roll into the whole thing about corporates or corporate entities are voting? Yeah.
So what ends up happening is the game is played on you. Well, if you don't allow companies to participate, then they don't do commerce in your state. They'll go somewhere else.
Yeah, I get all
Fuck
that.
you. We're like the largest state in the union next to California land-wise.
Yeah, that's true.
If you choose not to follow our rules, go try to be successful somewhere else. Go to North Dakota, South Dakota, where there's 15 people in the whole fucking state, and tell me that you're going to tell Texas what to do?
Exactly.
I mean, this whole thing, this is what I get tired of. When you look at Austin, so Austin used to promote itself as Keep Austin Weird.
Yeah.
Everybody thought the Keep Austin Weird program was about hippies and pot and shit, and it wasn't. What it was about, and they won a Nobel Prize for that, it was about if you do business in Austin, you have to use services in the city of Austin, or at least the state of Texas. But they wanted you in the city. So if you had insurance, they wanted you to buy your insurance in Texas.
Okay.
If you used a bank, you had to use business in you had to use a bank in Austin.
Right.
If you needed any kind of HR services, you used the business in Austin.
So it's strong arming.
Not strong arming, defining the rules of doing business in our state.
Okay.
Right.
I
actually don't have a problem with that.
I don't either. Why? So the oldest independent bookstore in the country is in Austin.
Okay.
And they've kept Barnes and Nobles out for many, many years because.
Oh, okay. I was following it different than what you were saying.
Right,
there.
because
okay,
what ends up happening is Barnes and Noble will come in and make money from the community, get tax exemptions to build a business, and then send all their services to another state.
Now I'm tracking to what you're telling me. I wasn't following the concept. Now I'm understanding what you're telling me.
See, Austin, I don't motherfuck you all the time.
Yeah, not all. The problem is though, anything good always gets watered down by people with money.
Yeah,
because then what they do is they start bending that rule. And when you get marketers and accountants involved in anything, it goes to shit really fucking quick.
Right.
Because common sense goes out the window. It's not about dots and dashes at this point. It's not about just ones and zeros. It's about knowing the market you're in.
Yeah.
It's about knowing the people you're doing business with. And that's the problem I have with politicians that, one, were terrible students, terrible citizens, decides to win a popularity contest. To me, it's like the American Idol of politicians. He's kind of like that guy.
I think that's a pretty succinct description.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dude that has no substance whatsoever.
Yeah.
No background of anything other than being a fucking...
His daddy's rich.
It's another Bernie Sanders almost, in a way. I mean, the guy has done nothing.
What job has he actually held?
So he has an idea that he's singing like the Pied Piper to a bunch of fucking brain-dead people.
Right.
that don't want to work but want you and me to pay for everything.
Right.
That's bullshit. That's why. And so they know that they have to take away all your civil liberties in order to win.
Right.
And that's not how it works. I mean, you start looking at things. So, you know, so before I fall off of this box, okay, we saw a really great idea the other day about robots.
We did.
You know?
And it should stick with kind of an Austin idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's an Austin idea.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Robot priest.
Robot priests.
So,
so they can do weddings, funerals, confession.
Absolve you. Yeah, I guess they can absolve you of sin.
If you were Catholic, it'd be confession.
Can you imagine Stephen Hawking absolving you of sin? I mean, that'd be the best.
I just think it'd do bar mitzvah, but
yeah.
What if you have one of those... I forget the bris where you have a
freaking, yeah.
That is some that dude can freaking snip.
The bad
so
thing,
I can see the control panel, so you'd have to be very careful when you're selecting.
Who's got the joystick?
Yeah, you got to be very careful when you're selecting the services this robot does, because there's a big difference between bris and happy ending.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh,
you know what I mean?
Sir, we were hoping you wanted a girl, so here you go.
So I was watching. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what are you going to do with the Amish? They can't participate, man.
Right?
They ain't going to have a robot. What are you going to do?
I think Amish secretly go do shit that you just don't see.
I think you're right.
The robot will go out there and plow the fields.
That's funny.
My God.
Well, it's funny because there's a show that Sam and I like to watch. It's called The Chef on Netflix.
Okay.
So Jon Favreau travels around with Roy Choi, and they make these great meals all over the place. Well, so they gave on the latest episode, they gave Favreau a rice maker from South Korea.
Okay.
And so the rice maker talks to you. So when you push a button, it says, please enjoy good rice by making good selection. Please select from the... And so it basically says it's talking nicely to you through the whole program section. And so I'm thinking of these robot priests.
It'd be funny if it talked like Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
Well, so it speaks in a soothing South Korean female voice,
which is that doesn't even exist.
Yeah. And so it was hilarious to watch them try to make.
So a bunch of nerdy white guys are going to buy this for their Asian fetish. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, exactly. So, you got to think, so where are these motherboards coming from, right?
Well, yeah.
Because just a few months ago, we were talking about the autoerotic machines that they're making in Japan.
Yeah. I think they're called head robots or something like that.
Yeah, so, you see all this. You see all this stuff, and then there's a lot of shows that are, what is it called, the dark net? That's on Showtime or something like that. The dark web.
Yeah, dark web.
Where it talks about all the fetishes that are on computers now. And
was it like a documentary or something?
It's a doc. It is. It's only 2 seasons. It didn't do a third.
It didn't do well, yeah.
Yeah.
But they had a bunch of sex robots and stuff like that on there.
Okay.
So you had these people that were in virtual reality, because you can buy VR porn now. And so you basically put on your virtual reality headset, and you're actually orientated. It literally orientates you to...
I still haven't tried that VR shit.
Yeah?
My buddies' kids have. But
I've done some flight sims with VR, and it's really cool.
Of course you have.
It's very I know. I'm a flight sim guy. They make fun of me about that, but I'm a big flight sim guy.
He tells us it's planes.
It's planes and bears. Yeah, trust me. Yeah.
Which gets us back to our planes, trains, and automobiles. So there we go. We touched all the points.
Full circle, right? But no, it's funny because that's kind of a game changer. Because when you look at the things that are being introduced to people, right. And you start looking at the stimulus. Well, why not have a priest? I mean,
I agree. Well, that way the sex robots can go and get absolved from the robot priest.
Yeah. And I think it stops that whole sex with the altar boys.
Yeah, less instances of pedophilia in organized religion.
Because how many sci-fi movies have we watched where there's robots involved?
Right.
So
that shit goes wild.
I'm not sure if this is going to be appropriate or not.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't there probably be less beatings in the LDS if there was a... I'm kind of
potentially so.
Think about all the religions that this thing would have to cross roads with.
Yeah.
Can you see the Muslim robot?
Yeah, exactly. Allah robot.
Yeah.
The instead of you got the modem noise now that just goes off.
It's just a walking IED is what it is.
You knew we were going there. You had to know we were going there when we started talking about this.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about walking IEDs because over the weekend, there's a Saudi Aramco refinery was attacked. It was basically disabled by 50%. And the news stories came out and said it was a drone attack, explosive drones.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a little controversy going back and forth on that because, well, they're kind of close-lipped about it. They haven't really divulged.
I hadn't seen a whole lot of information. Well, again, I was away for the weekend, so I'm going to rely on you guys for a lot of this.
Well, so I have a lot of friends in the oil and gas industry that are connected over there. I actually have a friend's husband's over there.
Okay.
And so they're very, very controlled with what they're saying in the media right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because they don't want to scare the herd. Because if you have an Iranian funded, because they're saying it's Iranian funded.
Okay.
And they're saying it's a terrorist group, but a lot of people are claiming that they were actually Iranian vehicles that did this.
Like ground vehicles or aerial vehicles?
Aerial.
They are saying it's aerial, right?
So a lot of people, when a lot of people say that when you look at drones, you think of these, little hover drones.
Yeah.
But the size of real surveillance drones are fucking huge. They're like a third scale of a jet.
Yeah.
Like Reapers.
And so those guys, they carry explosives and they carry the ability to attack.
Have payloads.
They have payloads on them, and they're not just for surveillance. So they're not saying anything other than drone attack, okay? And so you're looking at an entity that's basically crippled 5% of the refining capacity of the world.
Yeah.
So I would be curious on the news story alone, is depending on who's given the reporting, I would be actually curious to see how they described it.
Sure.
Like, hey, this is what we saw. This is who told us. I'm more interested in who told you this.
Well, yeah, the intel's way ahead of where we're at right now. It's got to be. Surely.
This is where like for me, because I don't really trust any news media out there.
Yeah.
It's because I'm trying to go from what is fact-based, on it was a sunny day, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff happened versus editorializing something.
Right.
Well, I'm looking at it.
That's why
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
And here's the update on one of the updates, and this is to your point exactly. So the price of oil saw a massive spike Monday following what they believe to be drone strikes on Saudi oil facilities over the weekend that shut off more than half of the kingdom's daily exports, or 5% of the world's crude production. The very important phrase is believed to be drone strikes.
Yeah, that gives them the out.
Yeah, and so
this would be like, is it Saudi Aramco people saying something? Is it Saudi Arabia saying something? Is it Iran? Who's saying?
Right.
I'm trying to figure out who are the voices in the conversation.
Yeah, because this is the Saudi Arabia's Abaki oil processing plant.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and the Curious field in a single day, they're talking about just the largest single day strike that there ever was. So they're saying that the loss of 5.7 million barrels of Saudi crude production was the biggest record disruption on record.
Right. Which actually explains what you see in the price at the pump.
That's what I was saying. What brought me into it was looking at what I paid for gas from what I paid on Thursday to what I paid to today.
Sure. Okay. And what's interesting about that is that the price increase does not correlate with the timeline that it will affect the supply line.
Right.
So that whole speculative
they're accounting for
speculative market bullshit is a game. So you kind of look at this. I want to see flames. I want to see before and after pictures of something that's there or not there. They're saying that the preliminary results are showing that the weapons are Iranian, and they're currently working the determination of the location of launch.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're really saying that the attack didn't originate from Yemen, as where the militia is. What is it? The Houthi?
Yemen, yeah, that's a
militia
hotbed right there.
Yeah. So they're saying that that's one thing, and then they're also saying that there have been implied that the Iranian they're denying, right? Of course.
Well, that's why you use a group like that. If you're the Iranians, you can always say,
So most people, from a doctrinal standpoint, what we used to use is we'd use the CIA Big Book.
Mm-hmm.
And so you go to find out, what does this organization recognize as a terrorist group?
Right.
And you have, there's several metrics that they have to meet to hit that. Now, another sovereign government can recognize any group they want as a terrorist group. It won't necessarily show up
in the
CIA book.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
The thing is there's so you have to get so deep in the weeds to find out who's an active group in an area that's capable of doing shit.
And that's assets on the ground. And that's very difficult to do over there anyway, because you're talking about war that's been waged for thousands of years, generation through generation. So you know the bloodline of the bloodline of the bloodline.
Yeah.
That's involved in it. I mean, you know how tribals, how they work over there.
And this where you go from, like in the military, or at least for the Army, it was phase 3 and phase 4 operation, or phase 3 and phase 4 battlefield preparation. So are you fighting an organized force versus are you fighting just a group of guys that just are they're going to motherfuck everybody?
So they're all fighting over who's claiming responsibility. So Aznar Allah has claimed responsibility.
And anybody can claim anything.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, how many times have you seen like the Charlie Hebdo thing in Fort Worth or Dallas, where they or wherever that was?
Yes, we.
Yeah, where they all claimed responsibility for it.
Right.
And when the space shuttle blew up over East Texas,
Al-Qaeda was like, we did that.
Yeah, they were all. So when you look at that, when you look at what's going on over here, it's kind of a big deal, because now you've got something that so Saudis attacked Yemen and blew up a bunch of shit on September 1st. They killed like 40 people. So people are only hearing the sound bites that are affecting the economy in the United States.
And they seize on it and walk around like it's a real thing, because I heard it here. It must be.
I'm waiting for the Pentagon to come out and tell me what happened, because they're going to let me know what they want me to know too. Right. But the Pentagon's probably going to let you do on the real skinny for the most part.
Yeah, because you don't even know where that oil's going.
Yeah,
because there's a big. So the British stopped Iranian oil from going to China.
I believe so.
So they had that going on. So you've got. I mean, it's such a convoluted mess. But what I thought was interesting about it was the fact that the drones, they kept saying drones.
Yeah.
So we went to see a movie last weekend, and it was called Angel Has Fallen.
Yeah.
It's the third in that Gerard Butler, Mike Bannon bodyguard thing that he does. And so this is going to be a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, shut it off, because
fast forward like 10 minutes.
Yeah, because in the beginning of the movie, or towards that movie, he's out on a lake with the president.
Right.
And this truck backs up. The back opens up.
Shit like that.
Yeah, right. The truck backs up. The back opens up, and these, those rocket launchers with the multiple tubes.
Yeah.
They start shooting drones out.
MGR. I forget.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
It's a rocket launcher, and all these drones start shooting out. They're like bats. They're starting to fly in a swarm. Okay, so they're flying in a swarm. And so they do facial recognition, because they have the list of all the Secret Service guys.
Right.
And so it individually targets each one and it kills the entire Secret Service detail. And then it finally gets to the president and his boat, and they attack that. But of course, you'll have to watch the movie to see what happens. But it's literally 5 guys sitting in a command truck controlling drones with facial recognition software,
right?
Based off of a list, off of base IDs of people in this service. And so
it's a knock list.
Yeah, it's a knock list, and then you're sitting there and you're watching this, going, it's not far fetched.
Yeah.
But here's the one thing about drones people forget: all you gotta do is shut satellites off.
Yeah.
Shit stops. I mean,
immediately,
literally fucking stops. I mean, you can jam, you can blow up satellites in the sky, whatever it is you're going to do, you can shut drones down. I mean, that's part of the warfare that's going on right now.
Warfare,
electronic warfare package.
Because we'll do shit like
all
that
all
the time.
Yeah, and so you're looking at some pretty far-fetched stuff here. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next, because we're coming up on, we had September 11th already, so we've had that go through. Now we're coming up on probably the final run before the presidential election, because you're going to go through the holiday cycle, and then once it hits the spring and the summer, it's just going to be stupid.
You can just hope that he can stay out of a war, until then. That's my biggest thing. I mean, not a war hawk one way or the other, but what I'm just saying, for electable purposes, you hope that he stays out, because they'll take it and run against him on it.
He has to do something where the people view it as whatever he did was of value.
Seriously. Well, that's my point, because they're going to try to make it not of value. They'll do everything they can to make it look bad for him, is my point. So,
well, and it's funny because the problem is, is that they don't know if it was a squadron of drones or if it was cruise missiles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not a whole lot there. All they know is it defeated the Saudi air defense systems. It reached target with significant impact.
Right.
There's a lot of finger pointing and chest beating going on right now. This is a civil war that's been brewing for a long time.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to happen.
And part of the problem is it's kind of cornered the seated president because of the, and let's not fool ourselves here. We had a former president that gave that country billions of dollars.
Yep.
And made deals with that country that he should be in jail over that.
Well, he bowed to him. So
he did, yeah. So you've got a lot of weird shit going on here that we really don't know the depth of. But it's funny because I don't know. I just look at this and go, okay, well, we'll see what happens next week. We'll talk about it next week.
I'm sure this will be an ongoing deal. But speaking of sad attacks, I'm very sad that this attack didn't happen.
Yeah.
The Area 51 raid was called off. Did you see that?
Yeah,
their moms all wrote notes and nobody could come. It was sad.
Well, I love the memo they put out there too.
Now there's a huge stock of like Lunchables.
Exactly. Monster Energy drink stock went down 58%.
Because they got to be calling through all that shit out.
Hot Pockets Company has filed for Chapter 11 as of today.
Popsicles, all that stuff.
So that little hotel north of Groom Lake where they were, the only hotel within 20 miles.
Yeah.
That guy has like stacks of shit. He's probably got a millennial.
Welcome attackers.
Yeah, he's probably
Raiders.
got all the t-shirt guys.
Yeah.
All the food, all the water, all the energy drinks.
What am I going to do with all these special printed tales I got from freaking Vistaprint that got the aliens
I'm just hoping he got his money up front or at least a deposit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So the organizer sent out a thing says, now y'all know we were kidding. We're not advocating that you should crash the fence and get shot multiple times.
Yeah.
It was more of a protest type thing. And I think what ended up happening, which I think is funny.
2 people ended up getting rolled up this past weekend.
Did they really? Yeah. I missed that part.
And they're like, I think they missed the date.
Yeah. it's that save the date. Somebody spilled milk on it. And it just looked like
Kyle's mom dropped them off early.
God damn it, Karen.
Yeah, what are you doing, Karen?
That shit's funny. But so we were kind of thinking of alternatives for these people. I mean, so the Area 51 thing happened,
and they've already missed Burning Man.
Yeah, they missed Burning Man. The Hartman Bridge, only 22 people participated in that thing. Which those people got rolled up with federal charges.
They did, and it was nice to see. But they'll probably get off. I'm sure they'll get some.
Well, I don't know. It's federal. They won't.
Yeah.
They won't. The federal district.
That's true.
Yeah, won't. The judge has nothing to do with that.
That's true.
Which is really nice to see because that's a protected waterway.
You're right.
That's defended. That's actually managed by the Department of Homeland Security.
It affects commerce.
Commerce, yeah. And then you have emergency services that were denied or delayed because of that. So I think it's going to be fun to see how those idiots get rolled up. But we were trying to. We always.
What could you do since you're not going to crash the gates?
So we're thinking of just having a X Games Special Olympics.
That's kind of what I came up with while we were sitting there. I thought, you
got your running shoes. You practice your Naruto running.
Exactly.
You've got all these.
What's
all
this
these
little
things.
Razor scooter thing?
Yeah. You got your Razor scooters, your skateboards.
Yeah,
your fidget twister, or what do you call them?
You could do like an interpretive fidget spinning dancing, where you spin them and twirl them like they do with the deals. They could have them light up.
I think that would be fun. I think that's what we should do with these people because honestly, I was looking forward to the footage.
I was too.
I watched all those scenario videos they put on YouTube. We shared a bunch of them.
We did.
We were laughing our asses off about how the different waves of these people would attack Area 51, and they showed the military guys in the bunker eating sandwiches and pushing buttons.
Exactly.
I mean, I was like, okay,
setting the aliens loose on them. That was the best part.
And the nice thing about Texas is in San Marcos they host the Special Olympics every year.
Right.
Why don't we just use that facility?
We could.
Okay.
You could have blind motocross jumping. I'd like to see that. And if you weren't actually blind, they could put a blindfold on you. You just punch the gas.
Here's what's funny is that this canceled Area 51 raid. It's still more successful than the fucking Firefest.
That's the sad part.